Jimmy Butler's next team may shock everyone. And when I say shock, I mean utterly shock a lot of people. It's not the teams that you think it may be. It may be a team, a dark horse team that no one really expected. And yeah, we'll go with that. Now, this is all coming from Jimmy Butler saying, okay, he wants to be traded. He came out and had a very, very cryptic press conference where essentially said he's not happy in Miami. From that point, the Miami Heat, aka Pat Riley, said, okay, we'll play your hand, and essentially have agreed to trade him. So there's a lot going on with Jimmy Butler, and there's a lot to unpack from that. But to be honest, everyone saw this coming because Jimmy Butler is essentially not getting a contract extension from the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler wants a max contract. The Miami Heat are not giving to him this, that, and the other. Now, moving on to what's the team that I think will be in player for Jimmy Butler going forward. Now, the Jimmy Butler situation is kind of complex because Jimmy Butler, like I said, wants a contract. He wants a max contract deal. And right now, there aren't a lot of teams that without getting rid of their core players could sign or could trade for him and then sign him to a max contract, which brings in this team, this dark horse team that I think has a great shot and maybe try it, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks in 2026, 2025, 2026 will have enough cap room to pursue Jimmy Butler and actually give him a max. If they were able to give Jimmy Butler a max and also move a few players, they will be under that second apron, which a lot of teams want to be under. In that second apron, I think it's going to be around that $208 million mark next year. That's what they're predicting. And Atlanta Hawks are able to trade for Jimmy Butler and be under that second apron, which is a play that a lot of teams desire. Now, I'm not saying the Atlanta Hawks should do this. I'm not saying it. But I'm saying the Atlanta Hawks could. And that is a step that a lot of teams can't take right now. Now, in this video, I'm going to tell you what does the trade look like for the Atlanta Hawks, and how could the Atlanta Hawks sign and retain him for the next 3 or 4 years. Now, here's what it comes down to. The Atlanta Hawks have players. They have young core players, and they have salary. And the Miami Heat have come out and said, we want a young player, a young, good, up-and-coming player, and we want a couple of picks. That's essentially what they said. Now, looking at the trade value or trade for Jimmy Butler from the Atlanta Hawks, I put together 2 scenarios. Both kind of encompass what Miami Heat want, but both are actually very plausible, I think. Now, I also will say the Miami Heat don't really have a leg up in negotiation because Jimmy Butler's already made it clear he wants to be out. He's on his last year of his deal next year, and there's just a lot going on. So that's that. Now, here is the trade. The Atlanta Hawks would get Jimmy Butler, and then from there, the Atlanta Hawks would send DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Cody Zeller, and a second-round pick. There's going to be a lot of people saying, we do not want to get rid of Hunter. Hunter is really the only way that the Atlanta Hawks could trade for Jimmy Butler, unless they give up either Zachary Richiche or Jalen Johnson, which they're definitely not doing. So that is really the key to having this trade succeed. Giving up DeAndre Hunter, giving up Bogdan Bogdanovic, a second, and Cody Zeller definitely helps the Miami Heat because they get off of Jimmy Butler, but they also get a young, great player in DeAndre Hunter who could be Sixth Man of the Year. They get a shooter in Bogdan Bogdanovic, which they always love and they always need, and then they get a pick. They're always talking about getting a pick. They get a second-round pick, which could be good going forward. Next trade scenario, I put together 2 because I know some people in the comments be like, we're not getting rid of Bogdan Bogdanovic. Here's another trade scenario. So, Jimmy Butler for the Atlanta Hawks, they're giving up Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter, and the first rounder that they have from Sacramento. I think that this works a lot because you not only get rid of you get value for Clint Capella, who's on his last year of his deal, but you give Miami Heat the young player that they wanted going forward, and you're able to give Miami that first round picks that they want that will help them rebuild in the future. I think that this is a pretty viable trade. I think it's pretty decent, honestly, and I think it helps both parties in achieving a goal that they want. Now, why would Jimmy Butler go to Atlanta, and why would he re-sign with Atlanta? Number one, Jimmy Butler's kind of petty a little bit, and for him to play Miami, like, I think they're in the same division, and for him to spite Miami by playing him all the time, I think that'd be something he would sign up for. Also, Atlanta is a very big metropolitan city like Miami, so there have some similarities there. And like I said, it is a potential place where I know a lot of people said he doesn't want to win, but he can stay out of the gauntlet of the West. The West is still a gauntlet of teams, and Jimmy Butler could help the Atlanta Hawks take this team from here to there. I also think he would have a pretty decent fit with the Atlanta Hawks. He fits that kind of tweener position that the Atlanta Hawks don't really have, and that's a scoring big wing. I know we have Jalen Johnson, who's a scoring big wing, but they need a second scorer on the team, and Jimmy Butler would be that guy. He could handle the ball, whenever Trae Young gets minutes, and whenever Trae Young gets sits down on the bench. And Jimmy Butler could be a guy that helps fit the organization and helps propel them to that next level. Now, a lot of people don't like Jimmy Butler to Atlanta from the contract point. And like I said, I'm not saying the Atlanta Hawks should go all in on Jimmy Butler and stunt their growth of their team for the future. But I'm saying it is plausible, and it is very possible with a contract, contractually, and with the assets that the Atlanta Hawks have. And I think Jimmy Butler to Atlanta has a lot more validity than some of these other places that are being thrown out, just because the Atlanta Hawks have the salary cap, they have the trade pieces, and then they have the young core that they can build around of the future without those trade pieces that they put in there. But if you agree or disagree, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. Jimmy Butler is out the door, and a lot of teams are going to be calling about it, but I think the Atlanta Hawks are one of the few teams that could actually make an action out of it. And from there, you best believe the Atlanta Hawks will probably be the second best team in the East, if not first. I think this will help them. They'll be the second best team in the East. I think they'll be better than the Cleveland Cavs, which they beat twice. But I think they'll be a step behind Boston. And then from there, who knows? So if you agree, like I said, leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here, where I break down another major trade rumor that could potentially impact the Hawks going forward and putting them in a better position. And like always, peace.